Naofumi, a 20-year-old college student, decided to spend his afternoon at the campus library checking out some light novels. As he reached up high on a shelf, a stack of books came tumbling down. Amidst the pile, he discovered an intriguing title, The Four Sacred Weapons. His curiosity piqued. Naofumi started flipping through the pages. It depicted four legendary warriors hailing from a parallel universe, each armed with a divine weapon: a sword, a spear, a bow, and a shield. Surprisingly, the description of the shield hero was missing. Just then, the book radiated a blinding glow before whisking Naofumi away to a breathtaking new locale. Melromark, a magical kingdom plagued by imminent peril. Upon his arrival, local clerics greeted him with startling news. They had summoned him and 3 other unsuspecting young men to safeguard their crumbling civilization. Naofumi quickly realized that these clerics believed him to be none other than the fabled shield hero. Of course, there was just one small issue. Nobody was going to save the world for free. When the desperate priests seeking aid approached Naofumi, he and his companions made it clear they expected compensation. Luckily, rumors suggested that King Alt, whom they were soon to meet, might offer something valuable in exchange for their heroic efforts. A couple of hours later, they met with the king, who asked the legendary heroes to introduce themselves. There was Ren, known as the Sword Hero, Motoyasu, the Spear Hero, and Itsuki, the Bow Hero. Naofumi introduced himself, but King Alt seemed uninterested. That's when Naofumi began to feel that the Shield Hero might not be very important. King Alt then described an apocalyptic prophecy threatening their world with destructive waves. If they failed to stop these waves, the world would end. He mentioned special sand clocks from the Dragon Era in every kingdom that predicted the arrival of the waves. The first wave had already hit the kingdom, and the next ones were expected to be worse, so they had summoned the heroes. The next wave was due in less than a month, and the heroes needed to strengthen themselves by then. Eager for rewards, the young men quickly agreed to help in exchange for a fair payout, and the king was on board. They were then asked to check their statistics, realizing this world functioned like a video game. Leveling up is how they would get stronger here. They decided to form a team, but Alt's advisor stopped them, explaining that the legendary weapons repelled each other. If they fought together, they would hinder each other's growth. The advisor recommended taking it easy for today and getting ready for tomorrow's adventures. That night, the heroes gathered in a room to discuss their situation. They soon noticed several similarities between this world and video games, only they knew, leading to confusion. Realizing they each came from a different version of Japan put Naofumi at a disadvantage, since the others knew a game similar to this world, while he didn't. Mentioning the shield hero was the weakest, with the worst legendary weapon, frustrated Naofumi, but he calmed himself down, determined to find strong travel companions. Eager for the next day's challenges, they reconvened with King Alt the following morning, who had gathered his best warriors to join each hero's team. Naofumi saw that no one chose him, thanks to rumors that he was the weakest. Just when he was stressing about going it alone, Mine from Motoyasu's group walked over to him. Mine decided to team up with Naofumi, surprising him. Then, King Alt gave cash to each hero for their trip, handing Naofumi more since he had a small entourage. With that, the other heroes bid Naofumi goodbye and wished him luck. Next, Mine showed Naofumi around the city. They checked out a weapons and gear store managed by Erhard, a blacksmith who identified Naofumi as the shield hero right away. Erhard pointed out Naofumi's hardship, but Naofumi shrugged it off. When Naofumi requested a usable weapon, he reached for a sword, yet it pushed him away. Only a shield worked as a weapon, forcing him to rely solely on that. Ultimately, he settled on purchasing just an explorer's outfit. Mine urged it was time to power up, so they ventured beyond the city limits. Upon leaving, they stumbled upon feeble creatures dubbed balloon enemies attacking them. By defeating his enemies, Naofumi absorbed them and unlocked new abilities. Later on, Mine suggested Naofumi should get some better gear for her so they could take on tougher monsters. He agreed it was a great idea, so they headed back to Erhard's shop. Inside, Naofumi managed to haggle for some sweet discounts, impressing Erhard with his negotiating skills. Mine picked some crazy expensive equipment, talking Naofumi into buying it, even though he knew it'd drain his cash fast. But he shelled out the gold for it anyway. Afterward, Naofumi asked Erhard where he could sell his leftover balloons. Erhard pointed him to a monster materials vendor, allowing Naofumi to recover some of what he'd spent. That evening, Naofumi and Mine grabbed dinner together. As they ate, he started thinking about plans for the next day. When Mine raised her glass in a toast, Naofumi passed. He didn't drink booze. Even after Mine kept urging him, he declined again. Surprisingly, Mine then shared that refusing a woman's drink offer practically made Naofumi a real-life hero here. She explained that in Melremark, women called the shots, and men rarely turned down drinks from them. Naofumi was pretty shocked to learn this. Before turning in for the night, he sincerely thanked Maine for joining his team. The next morning, Naofumi got ready to head out and grind some more. But when he went to suit up, he realized that someone had stolen his money and armor during the night. Though angry about the theft, he resolved to find Mine and let her know what happened. Exiting the shop, Naofumi was intercepted by soldiers conveying urgent summons from King Alt demanding his presence at the castle. Upon arriving, he came face to face with Mine and the other heroes. Caught off guard, Mine falsely accused Naofumi of drinking excessively the previous night and attempting to force himself on her. Shocked, Naofumi tried to defend himself, but was silenced by the king mid-explanation. Furious at Mine's deceit, Naofumi demanded Alt send him back home and summon a replacement. Regretfully, Alt explained that was impossible. New heroes could only be called if current ones perished. And the only way home was surviving the upcoming waves. Alt admitted such assault charges warranted execution, but since Naofumi was a vital hero for the next wave, alternative punishment would be delivered instead, public shaming that would ruin his standing and turn the people against him. Resigned to his fate, Naofumi left the castle, having lost all hope of restoring his reputation after Mine's lies. Emerging outside, townspeople eyed him contemptuously. But graciously, Erhard stepped forward and offered Naofumi new garments, sparing him further humiliation. Naofumi thanked Erhard and said he'd pay him back someday. He went out to the edges of the city to fight some balloons. After hours, he finally hit level 2. Because people knew he had a bad rep, some merchants tried to rip him off. But Naofumi wasn't having it. He used live balloons to scare them into giving him a fair deal. He made a bit of cash and used it to settle his debt with Erhard. Later on, Naofumi found some weird plants. When he absorbed them with his shield, he got this cool new power to make plants better. He sold those plants for a nice price. After eating at a tavern, he realized his food tasted off. Guess that's what happens when you're betrayed. Then, 3 guys who were eating there tried to jump him outside. Naofumi fought them off with his shield and the balloons. He got pretty annoyed though, realizing he wasn't great at attacking. Right then, this guy Balukas showed up with an offer. Turned out, he was into some shady business, selling slaves. Naofumi was curious, so he followed Balukas to check out the slaves, including these half-human, half-animal types called demi-humans. Balukas tried to sell Naofumi this super-strong beast slave for 15 gold coins. Naofumi was puzzled, wondering why Balukas would show him something he couldn't afford. Balukas, thinking Naofumi might become a regular customer in the future, wanted him to get a glimpse of the high-quality merchandise. Naofumi just wanted someone cheap and easy to control. So, Balukas pointed him to a demi-human. Naofumi picked this sickly young girl, Raftalia. Balukas didn't think she'd last long, but Naofumi bought her anyway. After buying her, Balukas did some ritual, and that was it. Raftalia couldn't disobey Naofumi anymore. Naofumi figured out she could level up with him. He got her a weapon and some new clothes from Erhard's. Naofumi tried getting Raftalia to stab a balloon, but she was too scared. Her slave mark hurt her until she did it. They both got some experience from that. Naofumi told her they'd be fighting monsters to earn back the money he spent on her. When they left Erhard's, Naofumi saw Raftalia was hungry. He took her out and got her a nice meal, even though he just had the cheap stuff. She was pretty happy about it. After eating, they went to level up by fighting more balloons. They got better at it, faster. Later, Naofumi found out he could mix stuff together to make new things. Raphtalia asked who he was, and he told her he was the shield hero. That reminded her of what her parents had said, that the shield hero was a good guy who cared about demi-humans like her. She was glad to finally meet him. That night, Naofumi gave her some medicine he had made, which cured her illness. She had a nightmare about her parents dying to save her from a disaster. She woke up terrified, but Naofumi was able to calm her down. The next day, Naofumi sold the leftover medicine and earned some money. He saw Raphtalia watching some kids play ball. When he asked if she wanted a ball, she said no, but Naofumi could tell she was lying. So he bought her one anyway, telling her she could play with it after they were done working for the day. Raphtalia was delighted by his thoughtfulness. That night, Naofumi and Raphtalia went to an inn. Naofumi had to threaten the owner with one of his monsters just to be allowed in with Raphtalia. Over the next few days, they continued gaining fighting experience together. They came across a rabbit that tried to attack Raphtalia. Naofumi told her to stab it with her dagger, but she hesitated, frightened by the blood. This caused her slave seal to inflict pain as punishment for not obeying. Naofumi said he couldn't protect her if she couldn't fight, since he needed someone who would battle for him. Hearing this, Raphtalia stood up and stabbed the rabbit, declaring she would fight for him because she didn't want him to abandon her. Naofumi then went to Erhard's shop to buy Raphtalia a proper sword, planning to go explore a new town. In the nearby village of Ryute, they sold the rabbit skin for 2 silver coins. Naofumi asked around for easy ways to make money and learned about a mine with valuable gems, now inhabited by a monster from the first wave. Deciding to check out the mine for minerals, Naofumi experimented with new shield abilities, making a rope shield and an air shield. Inside, they collected precious stones, but Raphtalia froze in fear when a monster that looked like the one that killed her parents appeared. She screamed, and Naofumi grabbed her to escape. Raphtalia told him about her traumatic past, and Naofumi realized why she was so afraid. He said they had to defeat this monster to get stronger and prevent other kids from going through what she did. Naofumi shielded her body with his own and urged Raphtalia to strike it. Paralyzed by fear and slave seal pain initially, Raphtalia remembered their day together when she saw Naofumi in peril. Regaining her will to fight, she attacked with her sword, while Naofumi blocked the monster with his air shield, giving her an opening to wound and finally kill it. They gained a lot of experience. Raphtalia embraced Naofumi, crying with relief that he was alive. A week later, Naofumi and Raphtalia headed to the fields to keep leveling up. In battle, Naofumi uses a shield prison to trap a monster, allowing Raphtalia to easily defeat the enemy. Raphtalia has grown significantly in just a short time, both in strength and personality. They visit Erhard, asking him to make armor for Naofumi, since his current outfit can't protect against all attacks. Erhard initially offers one of his best armors, but it's too heavy for Naofumi, who requests a custom one instead. Erhard agrees to have it ready by the next day. That evening, Naofumi and Raphtalia dine at a tavern. Naofumi orders a kid's meal for Raphtalia, but she gets upset, insisting she's not a kid anymore. She orders the same dish as Naofumi to prove her point. The next day, Naofumi receives his custom savage armor from Erhard. Raphtalia is impressed by how great Naofumi looks in it. Soldiers start patrolling to prepare for the next wave of destruction. Naofumi wishes he knew when the wave would come. Erhard tells him about the church's sand clock, which predicts the wave's arrival. Motoyasu arrives with his allies, and Naofumi is disturbed to see Mine there. He decides to leave, but Motoyasu asks Raphtalia about the rumors surrounding Naofumi. Confused, Raphtalia doesn't respond, and Naofumi takes her away. They encounter Ren and Itsuki, who warn them not to interfere during the wave. That night, Raphtalia asks Naofumi about his issues with the other heroes, but he tells her it's not her concern. She decides not to press further. The next day, as the warriors prepare for the wave, Raphtalia tells Naofumi she's grateful they met and promises to be his sword, following him anywhere. The wave arrives, transporting the heroes and allies to the battlefield. As monsters appear, Naofumi heads off to fight them. Raphtalia notices Ryute village is under attack, so Naofumi decides to protect the villagers. He orders Raphtalia to evacuate them while he distracts the monsters. Defending the villagers, Naofumi lures the monsters away, then heads to a large tower. Climbing it, he rings a bell at the top to attract all the monsters, drawing them up the tower. In battle, Naofumi douses the tower in gasoline and sets it on fire. Escaping with his rope shield, he defeats several monsters, inspiring the villagers to fight. However, a massive monster appears, forcing Naofumi to intervene and protect them. He instructs the villagers to retreat since they can't defeat the monster. Raphtalia joins him, and together they fight off enemies. Royal knights arrive to help Naofumi while the other heroes battle the strongest monster. After joint effort, the wave ends. The villagers thank Naofumi for their survival. Raphtalia remarks others won't have to suffer like she did. Naofumi praises her, bringing her to tears of joy. That night, the king hosts a feast for the 4 heroes. Naofumi only attends to receive his reward, but Raphtalia joins him for the food and company. Motoyasu confronts Naofumi, challenging him to a duel to free Raphtalia after hearing rumors of her enslavement. Naofumi explains slavery is legal here and refuses to duel. Motoyasu insists a hero shouldn't own slaves. The king orders the duel to proceed. In the arena, Motoyasu attacks Naofumi with spear skills, but Naofumi withstands and counters using his balloons, injuring Motoyasu. Utilizing various shield abilities, Naofumi gains the advantage. However, Mine interferes with a surprise attack, allowing Motoyasu to land a critical hit and win. Naofumi claims Mine interfered, but no one believes him. The king removes Raphtalia's slave curse, revealing Mine is his daughter, explaining his favoritism. Ren and Itsuki interrupt Motoyasu's celebration, having witnessed Mine's actions. Their testimony proves Motoyasu lost the duel, allowing Raphtalia to return to Naofumi. She declares unwavering loyalty and intention to stay with him, comforting Naofumi in having a trustworthy ally. The next day, Raphtalia prepares a meal using leftovers from the feast. Tasting it, Naofumi realizes his sense of taste has returned, making him very happy. The heroes are summoned by the king, who offers rewards to all except Naofumi. Ren and Itsuki defend Naofumi for saving Ryute village during the wave, forcing the king to reluctantly give Naofumi the minimum reward. Naofumi and Raphtalia visit Balukas, where Raphtalia expresses wanting the slave curse reinstated to demonstrate loyalty. Naofumi disagrees, but Raphtalia insists. Balukas suggests Naofumi buy a filolial egg, hinting he might hatch a dragon. Naofumi decides to purchase it. He visits Erhard, who gifts a grimoire so he and Raphtalia can learn magic. After spending the night in Ryute, the filolial egg hatches. A filolial Naofumi names Philo. He cares for her, amazed at her rapid growth. Mine and Motoyasu arrive, announcing Ryute now belongs to Motoyasu by royal decree, imposing heavy taxes. Mine orders dealing with dissenters, but is interrupted by messengers. Mine challenged Naofumi to a race for control of Ryute. At first, Naofumi was reluctant, but he agreed after the villagers insisted. During the race, Naofumi rode Philo against Motoyasu's dragon. Even though soldiers tried to cheat so Naofumi would lose, he managed to overcome all obstacles and won. He couldn't believe it when Philo grew even larger after the race. The Ryute governor gifted Naofumi a carriage and permission for free town entry due to his impressive victory. Naofumi continued his journey, but things took an unexpected turn the very next day. Philo transformed into a young girl. That explained why she was so unique. She turned out to be a candidate for Filolial Queen. With Philo constantly changing shapes and tearing her clothes, Naofumi sought advice from Erhard regarding suitable attire. Erhard suggested finding a talented tailor in the capital city who required magical threads spun from a rare gemstone. While looking for the right material, they met someone carrying crucial medicine to his distant village. Naofumi offered to give him a ride in exchange for something valuable. Upon arrival, he handed the medicine to the man's sick mom, instantly improving her health. Touched by his generosity, the guy gave Naofumi veggies as thanks. All of a sudden, Naofumi realized he could earn cash if he helped others in similar ways using Philo's speed. So, he started taking last-minute requests from folks requiring urgent transport, generating quite a bit of money. People began calling Naofumi the bird god saint, praising him for helping heal the sick in his horse-drawn carriage. Caught off guard by his newfound fame, they stumbled upon bandits trying to kidnap a merchant. Thankfully, Raphtalia and Philo drove them away using magic, scaring the bandits senseless. Naofumi threatened them and forced them to return their loot. In exchange, the merchant shared his expertise and connections to boost Naofumi's abilities and introduce him to gems. Following a tip from the merchant, Naofumi visited a mine with the witch to hunt down a magical threadstone. Along the way, they defeated a massive chimera and claimed their prize. Pleased, Philo expressed appreciation towards Naofumi for his hard work. Their destination set on a southern hamlet plagued by toxic flora. They arrived just in time to save the day. Known as the bird god saint, Naofumi cured afflicted locals with potions and magic. But wait, more trouble emerged when enormous invading weeds showed up. Turns out, Motoyasu planted a miraculous grain to fight famine, only to worsen matters. Determined to salvage the situation, Naofumi led his crew into battle against the rampaging foliage. Eventually, they pinpointed and eradicated the source of the infestation. Utilizing a secret concoction and his shield's capabilities, Naofumi neutralized the menace. Furthermore, he tweaked the crop to bear edible fruit, solving the crisis once and for all. Overjoyed, the residents showered him with praise. Soon afterward, Naofumi sold portions of the harvested crops and seeds to Heek. Next stop, a resort town famous for hot springs. Relaxation ensued until Raphtalia spotted Philo shopping for an egg to present to Naofumi. Coincidentally, they encountered a beast obstructing their quest. Nevertheless, they persisted and succeeded in purchasing a meaningful token for Naofumi. Moving forward, they bumped into a father-son duo seeking sustenance. Following a heartfelt meal, they disclosed a neighboring community suffering from illness. Driven to lend support, Naofumi rushed to the scene. Once there, locals welcomed him as a savior and collaborated with the village physician to treat victims using medicines and spells. As a sign of gratitude, the village bestowed 50 silver pieces onto Naofumi. Word around town blamed the outbreak on a slain dragon by Ren, whose decomposing body polluted the environment. Naofumi found out that Ren's blunder had led to the spread of illness in the village. He got pretty mad and questioned the doctors about not addressing the root cause. A nurse explained that the mountain was filled with monsters, preventing the villagers from going there. Plus, the dragon's venom had contaminated the entire place. As Raphtalia and Philo listened intently, Naofumi asked if the government knew about this. The doc confirmed that they were waiting for medicine to arrive. Naofumi came up with a different idea. He decided to rescue the village himself. In exchange for some coins, he was aiming for 500. So their gang headed into the mountain, fighting lots of monsters along the way. To keep Philo safe, Naofumi used his powers to create a magical barrier around her. When they finally made it to the source of the infection and started cleaning it up, the dragon came back to life as a zombie. Naofumi yelled at Raphtalia to get out of there, but before they could escape, Philo charged towards the dragon like a wild beast. Surrounded by the dragon's toxic gas together with the girls, Naofumi grew even more disgusted by these creatures. Even though Raphtalia tried her best to defend against it, the dragon managed to hurt her. Naofumi wasn't sure what to do. Should they run away or stick around? Just then, Philo struck again, surprising everyone. She actually defeated the dragon by eating its weird purple heart. In the end, Naofumi and Philo took care of the rest of the dragon, cleaned everything up, and saved the village from falling sick. However, the doctor revealed that Raphtalia had contracted a severe curse. Naofumi learned he needed holy water from the capital's church to cure her. After collecting his reward, Naofumi spent time with Raphtalia and Philo. Philo gave him a piece of dragon crystal, which, once absorbed, enhanced his shield with new abilities. The next morning, Naofumi announced their upcoming trip to the capital for Raphtalia's treatment. On their journey, they met a girl named Melty, who knew Philo. While Melty spent time with Philo, Naofumi and Raphtalia pressed on. By evening, Philo returned with Melty, who sought protection after getting lost. Naofumi agreed to help, learning that she was royalty. Upon reaching the capital, Melty sent Philo to collect the reward, while Naofumi and Raphtalia went to the church. At the church, Naofumi felt unwelcome as it honored only the 3 other heroes. Nevertheless, the archbishop provided holy water for 1 gold coin. Suddenly, Motoyasu attacked, demanding Naofumi release Philo, whom he saw as just a pet. At that moment, Melty revealed her identity as Mine's younger sister and rightful successor. Later, Melty spoke privately with Naofumi, seeking peace. However, Naofumi, wary of royals, declined her offer and asked her to leave. Escorts arrived saying the king summoned Melty, so she bid Philo farewell. Naofumi was reminded of the damage royalty caused, mentioning he couldn't trust them. Later, Philo returned to Erhard's shop, and there she tells him that he has visitors. At that moment, Heike appears with other soldiers. Naofumi asks Heike what he wants from him. Heike replies saying they want to fight alongside him in the next wave. They were amazed by how Naofumi fought in the previous battle. Naofumi tells them if they want to fight in the wave, they don't need to join him. However, Hake mentions that they want to fight by his side, as all the soldiers present are from Ryute, and Naofumi saved their families during the first wave. That's why they want to thank him for saving their village. Naofumi then asks for 150 silver coins, saying he will accept them into the group if they can provide that amount. The others are surprised, but decide to gather the 150 silver coins. Afterward, Naofumi plans to upgrade his armor with Erhard. He notices a star has appeared upon reaching level 40, and Erhard explains that at level 40, he must undergo a class upgrade, or he won't be able to level up further, having reached the growth limit. The class upgrade is done with the hourglass of the church, so they decide to go there. On the way, Naofumi asks Raftalia what class upgrade she wants. Raftalia tells him he can choose for her, but Naofumi insists she should choose for herself, as he will return to his world after the wave's end. Raftalia starts to worry, not wanting Naofumi to leave her world. When they reach the hourglass, they learn that each class upgrade costs 15 gold coins. Despite the surprise, Naofumi decides to pay for the upgrades, starting with Raftalia. However, a nun stops them, saying the Shield Heroes group is forbidden from class upgrading by the king's decree. Forced to retreat with his money, Naofumi visits Balukas, asking if there's another way to upgrade. Balukas suggests they can upgrade in another kingdom's hourglass, but reaching any of them would take too long with the third wave approaching. So Naofumi sets aside this idea for now. Balukas recommends Dragon Claws for Philo, which will increase her strength in combat. Naofumi buys them and takes a job from Balukas to test Philo's new claws. They go to hunt a monster in the sewers, and during the fight, Philo defeats the monster with her new gear, delighted with her victory. That night, Naofumi applies holy water bandages to Raftalia to cure her dragon curse as quickly as possible. Raftalia asks if she can accompany him to his world when everything ends, surprising Naofumi. Before he can respond, Philo interrupts the conversation, and Naofumi decides to end the talk. Then they travel to a northern village for a job. There, they find villagers in poor condition who reveal that Itsuki caused a revolution with his group of rebels against a corrupt governor. However, the rebels took control, worsening the village's situation. Naofumi decides to help them. After that, Naofumi went back to the capital with the girls. There, they ran into Ren and Itsuki, who were whining about someone else taking credit for their missions. This made Naofumi crack up laughing at them. Ren and Itsuki got pissed and confronted Naofumi, who told them about some rebel group and the dragon's corpse he found. Realizing their screw-up got people killed, Itsuki refused to believe Naofumi. So Naofumi left the tavern, and soon after he got some new armor from Erhard with a core from the zombie dragon built into the chest plate. Just then, Heike and the others showed up with 150 silver coins they wanted to give Naofumi, but he told them to use the money to gear up instead. They happily agreed. Naofumi warned them not to stab him in the back or else, and they accepted without question. As they prepped for the next wave, Naofumi gave Raftalia and Philo new accessories to power them up. Then, they got zapped to the wave zone and started battling the mobs around them. That's when Naofumi ran into the old lady he'd healed before. She revealed herself as a retired adventurer and easily wrecked several monsters with her bare hands, surprising Naofumi with her skills. She offered to handle the mobs so Naofumi could join the other heroes fighting the wave boss. Soon Naofumi found a huge floating ship where the other heroes were getting worked by strong monsters. Seeing Ren and Motoyasu's crap teamwork, Naofumi jumped in and told them to get their act together. He he noticed the monster's weird shadows and had Raftalia use her light magic, revealing their weakness. This let them get ganked. But then the wave boss, Soul Eater, showed up. The hero's electric attacks didn't do squat against it. Naofumi had Philo whip up some wind magic, which finally injured the beast. Pissed off, Soul Eater came at the heroes, but Naofumi and the girls stood their ground thanks to his legendary shield. Naofumi used his Shield of Wrath, and a new power awoke in him from the dragon fragment. Meanwhile, Philo transformed after eating some purple crystal. The battle turned in their favor, and Naofumi caged Soul Eater with his new Iron Maiden skill, then finished it off. The other heroes were amazed by his power level. But the wave wasn't done yet. Some mysterious chick named Glass appeared, recognizing Naofumi as the real hero. She said she was his enemy, and the real battle was just starting. The three heroes tried jumping her, but got slapped down hard. Glass used a move that incapacitated them, leaving only Naofumi, Raftalia, and Philo standing. The three started their fight with Glass. However, Glass proved far superior, causing Raftalia and Philo to fall defeated. So Naofumi, deciding to activate his Shield of Wrath, watched as Philo got up and attacked Glass with the power of the Dragon Crystal. But Glass stopped her, leaving Philo out of the fight again. Then, Glass used a special attack on Naofumi, who withstood it, earning praise from her. Naofumi then tried using Iron Maiden, but Glass easily destroyed it. Realizing they needed a new strategy, Naofumi planned an escape with the girls. Suddenly, Glass allowed them to flee as the wave time ended, warning Naofumi he wouldn't be so lucky next time. As the wave ended, Naofumi wondered about the true nature of these waves. Then, a soldier appeared, requesting his presence before King Alt. Meeting with Alt, Naofumi was asked where he got the power to defeat a boss alone. He responded provocatively, asking Alt to kneel if he wanted to know, angering the king. But Naofumi, now stronger, left the throne room, ignoring Alt's threat to punish Raftalia and Philo for his disrespect. Naofumi warned against harming them. Reuniting with the girls at Erhard's shop, they prepared for a journey to another kingdom for a class upgrade. Erhard gifted them helpful accessories. As they rested, Melty appeared with royal soldiers, asking Naofumi to reconcile with Alt. He refused, noticing a soldier trying to kill Melty. Protecting her uncovered a conspiracy by Mine to frame Naofumi for kidnapping Melty as part of a plan to take the throne. Naofumi decided to protect Melty. Soon, a fake video circulated in Melromark showing him and the girls assassinating Melty's escorts. Now wanted, they traveled cautiously. Melty considered returning to the capital, but Naofumi warned of the danger. She agreed to accompany them. Heading to Siltvelt for refuge, they rested. Melty questioned Naofumi about his hatred for Alt. He shared his mistreatment since arriving, surprising Melty, as her mother claimed Alt would treat him well. Their talk was cut short when Naofumi noticed soldiers. Continuing stealthily, Melty stumbled, alerting them. Trying to escape, they reached a cliff where the heroes, accompanied by Mine, confronted them. Mine lied that Naofumi brainwashed Melty. Believing her, the heroes battled Naofumi's allies. In this moment, Naofumi decided to use the Shield of Wrath, creating a rift between his group and the other heroes, preventing them from reaching the kids. Before retreating, he spoke with Ren, suggesting he should understand why all this had happened. Ren was left pondering these words. Finding safety in the forest, Naofumi and the girls met Shadow, a special escort of Melty's, who informed them they must meet the Queen of Melromark, located opposite of the Siltvelt Kingdom. Naofumi was hesitant. Meanwhile, Mine gathered soldiers in the forest to set fire to a mountain, hoping to flush out Naofumi's group. Noticing the fire, Naofumi decided to move quickly with the girls to avoid it. The next day, while buying supplies and gathering information, Naofumi learned checkpoints had been closed and patrols were at the borders, complicating travel to Siltvelt. After sharing this with the girls, they decided to meet the queen. On their journey, they reached an area inhabited by many demi-humans, reminding Melty of a noble friend who might help them. This triggered Raftalia's memories of her village being invaded by rebel soldiers after the first wave, revealing corruption in Melty's kingdom. They met the noble Van, Melty's friend, who invited them to his mansion. There, Van revealed he had heard about Naofumi supposedly setting the mountain on fire, another false accusation made by Mine. Van ordered food for them, but Naofumi suspected poison. To assure them, Van tasted Naofumi's food, leading them to trust him and enjoy the meal. During conversation, Van mentioned to Melty that traveling with Naofumi had changed her for the better, making her less inclined to always act responsibly. Melty felt embarrassed by the observation. Later, Van sent them to their rooms, where Naofumi asked why he didn't rest. Naofumi replied they could be attacked at any time. Raftalia offered to keep watch instead, allowing him to rest. Melty was upset, realizing he still didn't fully trust her. Philo then asked Melty to explore with her, and Raftalia urged Naofumi to treat Melty kindly, though he ignored her and slept. That night, Naofumi awoke and encountered Melty, who expressed uncertainty about running away. As a royal, she feels she has responsibilities, but Naofumi assures her that their current priority is to escape, and she can think about her duties later. Despite Melty's continued distress about being unable to help her kingdom, Naofumi reassures her that there is something only she can do, urging her to rest for now. She thanks him, and Naofumi notices Raftalia is still having nightmares about her past, realizing she hasn't yet overcome it. The next day, Raftalia wakes from her nightmare to learn that soldiers are taking Van away. A servant of Van's reveals to Naofumi and Raftalia that a neighboring noble accused Van of aiding them, which is why he's being taken. The servant hides Naofumi and Raftalia in the kitchen to avoid detection. Meanwhile, Melty confronts the soldiers, who are working for a noble named Idol, the same man who enslaved and tortured Raftalia as a child. Raftalia becomes enraged, but Naofumi stops her to prevent them from being discovered. Melty covers for them, going to Idol's mansion to prepare for a trip to the capital, which allows Naofumi and Raftalia to remain hidden. They later reunite with Philo, who Melty had also hidden. Trusting Melty, Naofumi decides to rescue her. That night, they infiltrate Idol's grand mansion, defeating several guards along the way. Raftalia is haunted by memories of her past but remains determined. They find Melty and Van, and Idol threatens to kill Melty, but Naofumi easily saves her. Idol, enraged, threatens them, but Raftalia chooses to confront him alone. Unable to defeat her, Idol begs for his life, reminding her of the demi-humans who begged him for mercy. Remembering the demi-humans from her village, Raftalia's anger intensifies. Idol kneels, begging Raftalia for forgiveness, but she struggles with her hatred. Naofumi intervenes, asking if killing Idol will help her overcome her past. He reminds her that her strength isn't just in swordsmanship. Realizing this, Raftalia tells Idol that killing him would make her a coward like him, so she decides to spare his life, wanting him to live with his crimes. Idol, humiliated, tries to attack Raftalia, but ends up accidentally tripping on his weapon and falls out of the window to his death. Naofumi assures Raftalia that it's not her fault. Melty then heals Van, who suggests they should flee immediately. But before leaving, they decide to go to Idol's basement, where the demi-human slaves he tortured were kept, and enter it. At that moment, Raftalia started remembering her past. She recalled how, after her parents' death during the first wave, she decided to stay positive. This attitude was her way of encouraging the villagers to rebuild their village. Raftalia gave an inspiring speech to everyone, convincing them that their village could be as strong as before. One of her friends, moved by her words, decided to support her. Raftalia's best friend, Rifana, also backed the idea, which motivated everyone to start rebuilding. However, their hope was short-lived. They noticed soldiers approaching, mistaking them for the king's aid. But these were Idol's soldiers, there to capture all the demi-humans for slavery. Raftalia and Rifana were imprisoned in a basement, subjected to daily torture by Idol. Despite the brutality, Raftalia didn't lose faith. She reassured Rifana that the shield hero would one day rescue them. As Rifana grew sicker from the torture, Raftalia tried to keep her spirits up by crafting a small flag from cell debris, symbolizing their village. One day, a soldier came for Raftalia. She had been sold to the slave trader, Balukas. She asked about Rifana's fate, but the soldier ignored her and took her away from the mansion. Back in the present, Van reveals that 3 slaves had survived, prompting the group to rush to their aid. Among them was a friend from her village. Raftalia was relieved to see him alive, but he didn't recognize her at first. She reminded him of their shared past, triggering his memory of her. Naofumi then decides to heal his wounds, making him grateful to see the shield hero is real. He mentioned that Rifana would have loved to meet him. Hearing this, Raftalia asked about Rifana, and he reluctantly revealed the truth. Raftalia found herself confronting Rifana's corpse, leading her to break down in tears. Meanwhile, Melty was horrified to discover such atrocities in her kingdom, and Van informed her that such incidents were not isolated in Melromark. Naofumi consoled Raftalia, suggesting they give Rifana a proper burial. Overwhelmed by guilt, Raftalia felt she could have saved Rifana and others if she were stronger. Naofumi reassured her, confessing that meeting her changed his ability to trust. His words revived Raftalia's fighting spirit. She decided to bid Rifana a final farewell. As they left Idol's basement, they discovered Idol was still alive. He activated a monument, releasing a monster he had sealed, seeking revenge on Naofumi and Raftalia. Just then, an ancient dragon named Tyrant appeared, crushing Idol underfoot with a single stomp. The dragon wreaked havoc throughout the mansion, forcing the group to seek refuge with the children. Naofumi wondered what they should do next, but the dragon quickly found them, catching him off guard. Realizing they'd be doomed if the dragon attacked, Naofumi braced for a fight. However, Philo quickly charged at the dragon, prompting Naofumi to prepare for battle. Melty warned that they might endanger everyone in the area, but Naofumi planned to draw the dragon away from the city. He noticed a glowing light in the stomachs of both Philo and the dragon, suggesting that the dragon was following Philo. Naofumi decided to use Philo as bait to lead the dragon out of the city. Meanwhile, Naofumi was still concerned about the demi-human children, but Van assured him that he would take care of their escape. Raftalia was saddened to part with Naofumi, but he reminded her of her duty as the shield hero's companion. Accepting her role, Raftalia handed him a bracelet he had given her for protection. Naofumi, Raftalia, and Melty rode Philo, leading the dragon out of the city. Along the way, Raftalia apologized for giving back the bracelet, but Naofumi reassured her that she could do whatever she wanted with it. They reached a vast lake, deciding to confront the dragon there. Naofumi tried using his air shield to stop the dragon, but it easily shattered the shield. Philo and Raftalia attacked the dragon, but their efforts seemed futile against its tough hide. Naofumi contemplated using the Shield of Rage, but a mysterious voice urged him not to rely on that power. Suddenly, several Filolial, led by the Filolial queen Fitoria, appeared on the scene. Fitoria instructed them to stand back as she took on the dragon. She faced the dragon head-on, stopping its fiery breath and defeating it with a single, powerful blow. After the battle, Fitoria transformed into her human form and cautioned Naofumi about the dangers of using the cursed powers of his shield. Naofumi argued that he needed the Shield of Rage to survive, but Fitoria ended the conversation with a stern warning about the consequences of using such powers. There, Fitoria invited the group to the Filolial lands via her carriage. She suggested they rest a bit, so everyone started preparing dinner. Later, Fitoria asked to speak privately with Naofumi, who agreed. He asked her why she fought Tyrant, thinking she already knew they needed help. Fitoria revealed she had come to see the queen candidate, who turned out to be Philo. Naofumi then explained everything to Fitoria. Fitoria became angry upon learning that the four heroes were fighting each other. She questioned why they weren't participating in the waves in other parts of the world. Naofumi was surprised, having thought the waves only occurred in the kingdom of Melromark. Fitoria explained that previously, each kingdom would summon a hero to deal with the waves, but Melromark summoned all four. She revealed that a hero who raised her centuries ago asked her to prevent future heroes from fighting and to kill them if they did, so new heroes with the correct values could be summoned. Fitoria urged Naofumi to reconcile with the other heroes, warning that the world might end if they didn't unite. Fitoria emphasized that she couldn't fight for the world alone. Naofumi argued that she was stronger than all the heroes, but Fitoria warned that one day her power wouldn't be enough. She insisted on reconciliation, but Naofumi refused, feeling betrayed by the other heroes and the kingdom. The next day, while the group was eating, Fitoria interrupted breakfast and trapped Melty in a wind prison, taking her as a hostage. She demanded a promise from Naofumi to reconcile with the other heroes, but he said he couldn't. Vittoria then stated she might have to summon new heroes for the world's sake. Naofumi accepted his fate, but vowed to fight for survival. Vittoria used a skill to nullify the shield's powers and proposed that Philo fight her in a one-on-one battle. Philo agreed, and Vittoria created a field to prevent interference. Philo equipped strength gloves to face Vittoria, but found her to be much superior. As Philo struggled, Naofumi tried to free Melty, but Vittoria's magic severely wounded him, preventing the rescue. Seeing Philo in trouble, Vittoria began gathering air magic to finish her off. Naofumi encouraged Philo not to give up. Inspired, Philo gathered her magic and attacked with all her might, managing to scratch Vittoria. Vittoria then ended the duel, revealing it was all a test for Philo, who had passed. Vittoria gave Philo a philolial crown, acknowledging her as her successor.